We're getting technically better every week, but it takes time and it takes a lot of work and patience and prayer, because Satan doesn't want us to do this morning, and he'll make me stressed out every Sunday morning due to technical difficulties, but we're thrilled to be here. God has really blessed us to be in this place. We have a great relationship with two of the schools in our community, great relationship with the principals. We were up here on Saturday night at a Halloween carnival, and we're able to help out and play with the kids and make things a little bit more fun for everyone. And again, one of the things that we do so much in our community is we try to serve, and we were some of the few people who were left for the 45 minutes after it was over cleaning up, which also kind of works out for us, though, because we're really cleaning up for our services on Sunday morning. So it does work out that way. Joyce, could you bring me one of each of those three books, please? So right now we're in the middle of our life-giving relationship series, and we're essentially on kind of week number 4, week number 3 in the books. Life-giving relationships. First week we talked about life-giving relationships kind of as an introduction. Some of the things that we talked about, really kind of our foundational passage for the series is Philippians 2. And the ultimate goal of Philippians 2, and the thing that we can put into practice in our lives, is that we should have the same attitude as Christ. And the next week we went into life-giving friendships. Life-giving friendships was also the first week of our small group series, that you're going to be kind of going over some similar things, life-giving friendship, in our small groups during the week. We've got 2 small groups already started, and we're going to look at starting one more. If anyone else is interested, especially in a different night of the week or something like that, let us know. I know we at least have one other couple that would like to move to another night, so we're looking at opening potentially one more small group. We're using these books. We were slow getting them in, but they are all in. I think everyone that's currently in the groups has one, but if not, they're over on our information table. They're $10 each. If money's a problem, don't make it a problem. We'll take care of it and make sure that that's not a problem at all. Then our next week, we went into life-giving marriages. Life-giving marriages, we talked a lot about broken marriages, and one of the things that I wanted to do as I was going through this series, it's not just broken marriages. We talked a lot about broken families. And as we go through this series, I want to be sure that I can help you become equipped to do the things that you need to do to grow in your relationships with both people and with God. Turn me down just a little bit more in this monitor if you can. Aux 1, turn that down. Maybe Aux 2. Aux 1 and 2, turn me down a little bit. Get a little bit of feedback. So let me tell you what this is. And I kind of wish I had Gina's copy as an illustration, because hers is frayed and falling apart. But the 3 books that I have up here, one is Power of a Praying Husband, one is Power of a Praying Wife, and the third one is Power of a Praying Parent. If you don't know some of the things that you could do to strengthen your marriage or your family relationships with your children, let me encourage you to purchase one of these books. Everything we have over here at the table is at cost. These are $12. And if you absolutely need one and can't afford it, let me or Joyce know, and we will take care of that for you, because I want to be sure that this can be in your hands. What these books do is these books will give you a couple of pages to kind of share a little bit of information about a particular topic that you're praying for. So for example, if my wife, let's make it personal. If I want to pray for my wife in the morning, each of the chapters or sections is based on the things that wives voted or rated as the top priorities that they would like their husbands to be in prayer for them on, from first to last, right? So guys, like sex is the first one in our book probably, and it's probably really low on the list in the wives' book. All right? So these are topics that are important by order of what each of the person that you're praying for has suggested. But what, for example, if I'm on this series here, it's about her priorities, about the things that should be important to a wife. So what they're going to do is they're going to teach you a little bit about the things that wives struggle with and the things that they want prayer for in their priorities. So what happens before you start praying, guys, it helps you to understand what exactly your wife needs, both from you and in her life, in the area of priorities. And then at the end of that, it goes into a prayer that you can pray and substitute her name for wife in there. And I strongly encourage you, men, to pick up Power of a Praying Husband if you're married, and Power of a Praying Wife. Ladies, if you're a parent, this world, we talked all about the culture and the broken families that we have that cause so much trouble in our communities. If you want to see that change, begin praying committed prayers every day, and I believe God will begin to work in your lives, in your marriages, and in your families. So that's a little plug for these books. I'm not trying to sell them to make money. I was thinking last week as we were going through this series, you know what? One of the most effective and most powerful things in our family has been these books that started with my wife. Praying the Power of a Praying Wife for me for probably 2 years, and at one point, because I didn't catch the hint and go out on my own and buy The Power of a Praying Husband, she bought it for me. All right? And I think confessions of a bad husband pastor here. I probably didn't start using it until a year after it had been sitting on my shelf when she bought it for me, but I do use it now regularly, and these, I think, will be powerful in your lives if you'll take them and use them. And all of that was a summary of life-giving marriages. We also talked in marriages about the three powers: the power of agreement, the power of love, and the power of working together in our life-giving marriages last week. And we had some fantastic discussion within our small groups, within our life groups. So if you're not already a part of a life group, I encourage you to get signed up for one of those. All right. So this week, we're talking about life-giving faith. Life-giving faith. What is faith? I mean, at its most basic level, what is faith? At its most basic level, faith is hoping in or for something that we cannot see. Like the notes that you see behind me are not here in front of me like I expected them to be. So I'm hoping next week they'll be in front of me. Turn in your Bibles, if you'd like, if you have them with you, to Hebrews 11. And in Hebrews 11, we're going to look at a few things throughout the message today from that chapter, so you'll be able to hang on to that. When we talk about faith, Hebrews chapter 11 is often referred to as the Hall of Faith. It lists story after story of some of the major characters in the Old Testament and gives you a description of how their faith was shown toward God in the midst of pretty crazy circumstances. So in Hebrews 11, verse 1, it says, "Now faith," here's the example, "faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see." Being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. Those are the two keys. You're hoping in something that you do not see. So if you think for a moment, you can't see your favorite candidate winning the presidential election or something like that. You can't see it yet. But you're hoping for a particular one to win, right? Or if you've made your decision yet, you're hoping for someone to win. You can't quite see it, so maybe you can say, I have faith that this guy or this gal can pull out the election because I want them to win, but I don't yet know it's going to happen. And I'm going to maybe support them, maybe give to their campaign or something along those lines, because I can't see it yet, but I really want it to take place. It would help me in some way. You're probably not going to say that I have faith in the other candidate that you don't want to win. Because while you can't see it yet, you don't know it's going to happen yet, you don't really hope that person's going to win, right? All right? So the two keys here, one is that it's something we don't see yet. It's something that we don't know for sure. It's not based in fact. Number one, or not based in empirical evidence right in front of you, number one. And number two, it's something that we do hope for. what are we hoping for? I mean, really, in this world, what do we hope for? Is some of you, I read your prayer cards, we pray over them during the week, and I want to encourage you to write prayers on the back of your connection cards if you have them. We do really and truly spend time in prayer for those each week. I would say in here we have people who are looking for jobs, maybe looking for promotions because they already have a job. We have people looking for mates. Sometimes that's the younger people. We often want peace in our life. Things are crazy. Got lots of anxiety. We want peace in our life. Sometimes we just want something to go right because we got some depression in our life. We want health. There's a number of people in here who've had some health issues we're praying for regularly. We ultimately want success. And as we just talked about, in terms of the broken families in our community, we want good things to happen for our family. We want our kids. We got report cards coming out real soon, I believe. Right, Levi? I thought they were coming out Friday. He said, no, it's the end of the period, but the grades aren't out yet. And I thought, maybe I should call the teacher.
2 weeks.
2 weeks? Okay. All right. I thought he was pulling my leg. You want to know a sad story? When I was in high school, and of course that was a long time ago, back then there was no such thing as computers or a computer database or anything like that. And you had, cards like this size, like that, and your parents are supposed to sign the back of them. There's like a blank for each week. I don't think my parents ever saw a report card. I don't think they knew what it looked like. My good friend Marcy Briggs, still remember her. Her signature is the only one that the principal really knew because she signed all of my report cards for me. So don't get any ideas, kids, because it's on computer now. We can't get away with that. So there's a lot of things that we're hoping for in life. This world is a mess, right? Right? We walk into a mess. There's nothing that we can really do on our own to satisfy this mess that we live in. And no matter how hard we work on a few specific things, it's not going to help. I'm not sure where all of you are at in terms of understanding the Old Testament. There's a book called Ecclesiastes. And Ecclesiastes was written by a man named Solomon, who was David's son. And one of the things about Solomon, he was the king when Israel was at peace. David was the king who was at war, his father, and then Solomon was the king who was at peace. He had tons and tons of money. He had relationships with all of the other kingdoms around. He had a lot of wives. I want to say, with 300 wives, 700 concubines? Am I right, or is it backwards? 700 wives, 300 concubines. Something like that, all right? He had tried it all. So he goes through this book of Ecclesiastes, which really has one point. It says, I tried this. I spent all my money on this. I tried relationships with women. I tried gathering horses. I tried building up strong armies. He goes through each one of these stories of all of the things that he tried, and in each case, and he said, and it was meaningless. I tried it, and it did not satisfy. And in Ecclesiastes 12, verse 8, it's up here correct, it's wrong in my notes for some reason. 12, verse 8, he's coming to the end of the book. It's the last chapter, last few verses, and he says this. He says, meaningless, meaningless. Everything is meaningless. All the stuff he tried with all his money, all his power, all his women, all his houses. He had the biggest castle. He rebuilt everything. Nothing was good enough for him. He studied and became the smartest man on the planet back then, and guess what? Nothing could satisfy. I think we're in that today. We understand that a little bit of that today. But if you look, he goes on a little bit further to say, now, in verses 13 and 14, now all has been heard. Here's the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether good or evil. You know what Solomon realized is all of the things that he tried to do on his own, all of the things he tried to do in human culture, in his human power, nothing would satisfy. But there is this God that we hear about and that Solomon heard about. He grew up in a country where they talked about God, where his father followed God. And here is the creator of mankind, the creator of the universe. And Solomon says, tried it all. Nothing will satisfy. Maybe. Maybe, just maybe, serving the Creator who knows everything, serving the Creator who has the power to do anything, serving Him at the end of the day is all that really matters. Because at the end of the day, it is Him, God, who measures the good and the evil. And all we really want to do is please God. In Hebrews 11:6, we skip over just a little bit in the Hebrews chapter. But Paul makes it, or the writer of Hebrews makes it a little more plain when he says, and without faith, this is faith, trusting in that God that Solomon was talking about. Without faith, it is impossible to please God. Because anyone who comes to Him must believe that He exists and that He rewards those who earnestly seek Him. We may already have a little bit of faith in God. We may already have this general, there's a bigger, higher power out there. It can't just be us. And that faith kind of starts at least understanding that there's something greater out there. But what is it that He's really asking us to believe in? What is it in that Hebrews 11:6 that he's really talking about? It's impossible to please God without faith. What kind of faith is that? What is he talking about? If we look through this Old Testament, it's actually in the New Testament, but chapter 11 is an Old Testament kind of review of all of the faith in the Old Testament. And then he goes into chapter 12. After he talks about Noah, he talks about Abraham, he talks about Moses, he even talks about the prostitute Rahab and the great faith that she had. And then he goes into chapter 12, verse 1. He says, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, that's these faithful people who have gone before us. Let us throw off everything that hinders us and the sin that so easily entangles us. Let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before Him endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. So, the writer of Hebrews talks a little bit about, or he alludes to here, what that faith is really all about. Because remember, back in 11:6, he said it's impossible to please God without this faith. And then over in 12, he says, fix our eyes on Jesus, who is the author. He's the one that created the opportunity for our faith in our life. He is the author and perfecter. He perfected what our faith can mean to us. And our faith really is the story of the gospel. You've heard me talk about it. Almost every service we have an opportunity to pray and make that gospel real to our lives. But let me just kind of hit it and give you a quick review right now of what that means. And if there's any questions, please think this through and let's talk about it. First of all, God created us perfect in the Garden of Eden. Everybody knows the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. You may not know all the details, but ultimately they were created perfect. They were naked and no one was ashamed. All right? That was a good thing. And now, obviously, that's one of the bigger problems in marriage and life today. But it was at that point where God said, I give you everything, but here are a few basic rules. And they broke His rules because they wanted the knowledge that He had. They were deceived, but they wanted the knowledge that He was having, that God had. So they took a bite of the forbidden fruit and all of a sudden sin entered the world. And then God told them that the consequences of sin is death. It was all stripped away. They now wanted what God had. And so now, the consequences of that sin is death. And obviously